Hey there friends, how's it going? I'm Ben Snow, and today I'm gonna give you some helpful tips and tricks for combat in Spider-Man 2. These are the things I discovered while trying to get to 100% of the game, so take these tips as you wish. It's just all my experience and opinion. But as I was getting closer to the end of the game, I realized that I was overlooking certain faster and cooler ways of dealing with enemies. Like, for example, this heavily unused, kinda simple, but very handy tip. Whenever you have injured the enemy next to a wall so they kind of crouch down in pain, shoot a few webs at them and they will get webbed into a wall, which is a much faster way of defeating them than just doing the punches. Same thing if the enemy has fallen down, just a few webs will pin them to the ground. The next trick I actually learned from a friend. So you know how you can web throw different objects, and when you do that, the enemies duck down. It basically cancels their actions and stops incoming attacks. So what you can do is press circle as soon as you start spinning to cancel your animation and start hitting the enemies, because their ducking animation doesn't get canceled, giving you a good window of opportunity. Another thing that I found myself overlooking is not using gadgets. And with them, some of your battles can last no longer than 10 seconds. The best ones, in my opinion, are the web grabber and Ricochet web gadget. The grabber helps you group the enemies together, and the Ricochet one webs them up and pins them to all kinds of surfaces. The Ricochet gadget specifically is another proof that webbing the enemies is the fastest way of dealing with them. Well, of course, after the finishers. And once you've upgraded them to the maximum, you won't even need to use the web grabber. Like, a single shot of Ricochet will be enough to get rid of 4 to 5 enemies at once. This one actually describes my style of fighting the most, and that is trying to stay airborne as much as possible. Anytime you have the opportunity, just launch one of the enemies into the air by holding the square button and then just stay there by spamming the air yank, air throw, and swing kick moves. By staying airborne, you are usually in a safer spot than on the ground and have a lot of combo options to quickly deal with enemies or, simply savor the feeling of air combat. Also, when you stay in the air while fighting, the skills and gadgets regenerate faster and you deal more damage, especially if you upgrade your suit tech. Quick tip, if you are on the rooftop, try launching enemies off the roof by either doing the swing kick move by holding the square button or tap X, and Spider will push the enemy in the opposite direction of its movement. So if you need the guy to fly forward, you gotta press X and hold the left thumbstick down. Okay, so I used to do this a lot in the previous Spider-Man games. It's trickier to do it in this one, but it's still possible. So whenever you find yourself low on health and also low on focus points, get yourself swinging and try to do a couple of tricks by holding the square button. I know it looks silly from the perspective of the enemy, but performing tricks recharges your focus meter and refills your gadgets. Quick note, it's more difficult to do it indoors than it was in the previous Spider-Man games, but it's still doable. And also, you can make it so the trick mode stays on once activated in the settings menu. Before going into the next tip, I just want to let you know that there is a little tiny spoiler, so if you want to avoid it, just skip until this timestamp. Unlike other enemies, symbiotes are almost immune to the webs. They get rid of them super fast, so shooting webs at them isn't going to do much. Same thing goes for air combat. When you punch them into the air, they get down super fast. So the best way of dealing with them is gadgets and finishers. I know this is going to be a very dull tip, but be good at dodging to keep recharging your gadgets and filling up your focus meter. Also, don't get hit to avoid wasting your focus on healing. I know this is very helpful, but yeah, just spam gadgets, especially the Sonic Burst, and keep doing the finishers. That's all I can say for the symbiotes. So this one is super simple, but very effective. When you throw or push an enemy up against a wall or like a car, they take damage. So take the use of tight spaces and try sending them off flying into the walls. This one is also very handy with brutes, and if you start hitting them right next to a wall, they will never go out of their broken stance. Brutes are extra annoying in this game. They can perform this undodgeable attack where you have to parry, which can take a while to get used to. Whenever you go into a battle, save the brutes for last and deal with the regular guys first. That way, by the time you're done with them, you already gained some energy and are ready to use powers on the big guys without any distraction. Because the last thing you want is being hit by the snipers or having to dodge from an incoming attack. Also, brutes are kind of slow, and their area of effectiveness is usually only for like close range, so it's pretty easy to avoid them. Then once you get to them, I recommend webbing, ideally paired with a web throw that is unlocked once you get to the heavy lifting skill, which is extra handy on the rooftops. But you can go under them to break their stance, you can jump around and web their weak spots. When playing as Miles, you can also try going into stealth mode to kind of disorient him. If they have shields, just webbing isn't going to work. You'll have to break their stance with gadgets or powers first before webbing them and applying a few hits before they go into the defense again. And then you just rinse and repeat. Yeah, they're annoying. This one actually applies to traversal too, but it's most useful in combat. When you press L2, the time slows down and you get to aim and choose which enemy or obstacle to tackle. This is especially useful when you have a lot of enemies and you want to quickly get them all busy by webbing some of them and throw in different gadgets in another direction, you know. It's also really handy during stealth missions. You can easily be taking down enemies and then zapping away without being noticed. This trick can also come very useful in some of the Mysteriums because the timer also slows down when you press L2. So it's like a little cheat. This one is a little bit vague, but it's about setting your mindset towards a certain goal when it comes to combat, and that is to try to save your finishers for later. Basically, you don't use the energy for heals or finishers until all of the regular enemies are down and only brutes are left. Of course, you do need to heal, but by setting up that mindset, you will basically do your best to not get hit no matter what, and thus keep pushing yourself to the limit and get better at combat. It's just like a mental game that you can put yourself into to give yourself some challenge, but at the same time, it improves your overall fighting skills. I don't know if this is really a tip, but I think it is. It helps me, like when I actually set a goal and like I keep it in my mind, like, okay, I'm not gonna get hit. And then, my fingies do the action. And the last extra bonus tip for making it all the way to the end of the video is I strongly advise you to fight in style. The combat feels extra cool when you're wearing a badass suit. And oh, look at that! I actually have a video where you can look at each and every single one of the suits from Spider-Man 2, where I rank them from worst to best. Yeah, what a coincidence. Yeah. So check that out right now. Does it still say coming soon? Yeah, no? Okay. Well, I hope to see you there.